The gentle hum of advanced machinery filled the command center of Lunar Base Alpha as Admiral Han stood motionless, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. His eyes remained fixed on the massive holographic display that dominated the center of the room. The blue glow from the projection cast shadows across his face, highlighting the years of experience etched into his features. The sight before him would have terrified most. Thousands of alien vessels, each larger than anything humanity had publicly revealed, emerging from hyperspace near Saturn's rings. The ships appeared like predatory fish, their metallic hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Yet Admiral Han's expression remained calm, almost serene. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. The command center, buried deep within the lunar surface, represented humanity's first line of defense. Screens flickered with data streams, and quiet conversations in multiple languages filled the air as Earth's combined defense fleet maintained strict radio silence. Captain Lee approached with measured steps, her uniform crisp and perfect despite the tense atmosphere. She carried a tablet displaying the initial scan results, which cast its own soft glow in the dimly lit room. "Admiral," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The scans are complete." Han turned slightly, acknowledging her presence. Years of working together had forged a strong professional bond between them. He valued her directness and capability above all else. "Their technology is far beyond what we show to the public," Lee continued, swiping through detailed readings. "The smallest of their ships carries enough antimatter to power all of Earth for a year. Their weapons," she paused, double-checking the figures, "could crack a planet if used at full strength." Han nodded slowly, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. To anyone who knew him well, that small expression spoke volumes. "Interesting," he murmured, turning back to the main display. "They've brought enough firepower to conquer a dozen worlds." The massive alien fleet had arranged itself in a perfect battle formation, spreading out across space in a three-dimensional pattern that spoke of countless victories and absolute confidence. Their ships moved with precision that would have been impossible for human vessels, at least the ones they showed to the public. A junior officer called out from his station, "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, in multiple Earth languages." "Put it through," Han ordered, his voice carrying across the command center without him having to raise it. The holographic display shifted, showing a being that appeared almost reptilian, with scaled skin and multiple eyes. Its voice boomed through the command center, translated in real time. "People of Earth, hear the words of the Korra Empire. Your world now stands at the threshold of a new era. We have watched your development, measured your worth, and found you wanting. Your technology is primitive, your defenses inadequate, your civilization unworthy of independence. Submit to the embrace of the Empire, and you may yet survive as servants. Resist and face annihilation. You have one Earth rotation to surrender unconditionally." The message ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. All eyes turned to Admiral Han, who stood unmoved, still wearing that slight smile. Captain Lee stepped closer. "Sir, your orders?" Han straightened his uniform, a simple gesture that carried the weight of authority. He had prepared for this moment for decades, leading the secret development of weapons and defenses that no alien race had ever encountered. The public face of Earth's military capability was a carefully crafted illusion, hiding powers that would reshape the understanding of warfare itself. "Send them our response," he said calmly. "Text only. Keep it simple." His fingers moved across the nearby console, composing the message himself. On screens throughout the command center, his words appeared. "This is your only warning. Retreat or face extinction." As the message was transmitted, Han turned to address his crew. "Activate the quantum defense grid. Begin evacuating civilians to the underground arcologies." And he paused, looking at each face in turn, prepare to show the Korra Empire why they should have taken our warning seriously. The command center erupted into focused activity. As orders were relayed and systems powered up, Han returned his attention to the holographic display. The alien fleet hung in space, unaware that Earth's apparent primitiveness was the greatest deception in human history. Soon, they would learn the cost of their arrogance. Captain Lee watched the Admiral's calm demeanor, drawing strength from his confidence. "Do you think they'll retreat, sir?" Han shook his head slowly. "No, Captain. They won't. Their kind never does. They're too used to being the most advanced civilization in any conflict." He turned to face her fully. "That's why we'll have to teach them a lesson about underestimating humanity." Above them, through miles of lunar rock, the alien fleet waited for Earth's surrender, unaware that they had just made the biggest mistake in their empire's history. Commander Jin stood on the command bridge of the Empire's Fist, his massive dreadnought that cast a shadow larger than Earth's moon. The bridge itself was a marvel of engineering, with transparent view screens that made it appear as if he were standing in space itself. The stars stretched endlessly before him, and Earth hung like a blue jewel in the distance. When the human response appeared on his command display, Jin's scaled lips pulled back in what his species considered a smile. His second-in-command, Officer Ryu, watched with careful attention as their leader read the brief message again. "Retreat or face extinction," Jin read aloud, his voice carrying a musical note of amusement. "In all my years commanding the Empire's forces, I have never received such a bold threat from such a primitive species." The bridge crew, all chosen from the elite of the Korra Empire's military, shared knowing looks. Their scans had revealed everything about Earth's defensive capabilities, or so they believed. They saw the primitive nuclear weapons, the basic ion engines that barely allowed travel within their own solar system, and shield technology that wouldn't stop even their smallest ships. Jin walked to the main tactical display, his ceremonial armor catching the light from nearby monitors. The display showed Earth's military installations in perfect detail. Every submarine, every satellite, every hidden bunker, or rather, every installation their advanced sensors could detect. "Look at their largest weapons," Jin said, gesturing to the display. "Nuclear devices that would barely scratch our smallest scout ships. Their most advanced fighters use primitive chemical propulsion. Their communications still rely on radio waves." He shook his head in mock sadness. "It's almost cruel to use our full strength against them." Officer Ryu approached the display, her own armor making soft clicking sounds as she moved. "Commander, should we perhaps send another warning? Give them time to reconsider their brave stance." Jin waved the suggestion away with one clawed hand. "No, they chose defiance over wisdom. Now they will learn the price of such foolishness." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare the first wave. 10,000 ships should be sufficient for an opening demonstration." As his crew hurried to obey, Jin watched Earth rotate slowly in the distance. Such a beautiful world, he thought. Soon it would be just another jewel in the Empire's crown. Meanwhile, deep beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Han initiated sequences that had been prepared for decades. Captain Lee stood at her station, coordinating with ground bases across Earth as the civilian population moved into the underground arcologies, massive self-sustaining cities built in secret over generations. "All quantum defense grid nodes reporting ready," Lee announced, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Power levels optimal. Dimensional anchors stable." Han nodded, watching as green lights appeared on his status display, representing thousands of hidden installations across the solar system. Each one contained technology that the core Empire couldn't even comprehend, let alone detect. Back on the Empire's Fist, Commander Jin was addressing his fleet commanders through holographic projections. Each commander's image stood around him in a circle, creating the illusion of a personal meeting. "The humans have chosen to resist," Jin declared. "Their bravery, while admirable, will be their undoing. The first wave will target their major military installations. Minimal civilian casualties. We want workers for our mines, after all." His laugh echoed through the command bridge. The fleet commanders nodded in agreement, their own expressions showing anticipation for an easy victory. None of them noticed the subtle energy fluctuations around their ships, the barely detectable quantum distortions that indicated humanity's true defensive grid powering up. Remember, Jin continued, this is not just about adding another world to the Empire. This is about teaching a lesson to all primitive species who might think to resist us in the future. As he spoke, the first wave of ships began moving into attack formation. Their engines glowed with antimatter fire, creating a spectacular light show visible from Earth's surface. It was meant to inspire fear, to show the humans the futility of resistance. Officer Rio monitored the deployment from her station. First wave in position, Commander. All weapons charge. Shields at maximum power. She paused, checking another reading. Sir, we're detecting some unusual energy signatures from the lunar surface. Jin dismissed her concern with a wave. Probably their primitive sensor systems trying to scan us. Proceed with the attack plan. In the Lunar Command Center, Captain Lee leaned close to Admiral Han. They're deploying just as we predicted. Their arrogance makes them predictable. Han nodded slowly, watching the enemy fleet's formation with experienced eyes. Yes, they think they're dealing with a primitive species that barely understands space travel. He turned to face his crew. Let's show them how wrong they are. The countdown to humanity's revelation had begun. Soon, the Korra Empire would learn that appearances could be deceiving and that some warnings should be heeded. Dr. Kim stood in the heart of Facility Zero, a vast underground complex beneath Mount Paektu that few humans even knew existed. The central chamber hummed with power as massive quantum computers performed calculations that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. Blue-white energy coursed through transparent conduits that lined the walls, carrying power that didn't just bend the laws of physics, it rewrote them. Her hands moved steadily over the main control console, making final adjustments to the quantum cascade initiators, humanity's greatest scientific achievement and best-kept secret. The QCI system wasn't just a weapon. It was a complete reimagining of what was possible in our universe. Run final diagnostic sequence, she ordered, her voice clear and steady, despite working for 36 hours straight. Around her, dozens of scientists and engineers monitored their stations, each responsible for a crucial part of the system that had taken 20 years to perfect. Dr. Park, her longtime colleague, called out from his station. Primary quantum fold stability at 100%. Secondary and tertiary backups responding normally. The network is ready. Through the reinforced windows of the control room, Kim could see the massive rings of the main initiator. Each ring, nearly 50 meters in diameter, was constructed of materials that officially didn't exist. They spun silently, creating invisible fields that reached far beyond normal spacetime. Begin power-up sequence, Kim commanded. The rings began to spin faster, their movement creating patterns that hurt the eyes if watched too long. Transfer control to primary nodes across the solar system. On her main display, green lights began appearing as hidden facilities across Earth, and throughout the solar system came online. Each one contained smaller versions of the quantum initiator, all working in perfect harmony thanks to quantum entanglement communication that was instantaneous across any distance. While the Korra Empire relied on antimatter and plasma technology, brute force approaches to warfare, humanity had taken a different path. Instead of building bigger engines or more powerful weapons, Earth's scientists had learned to manipulate reality itself. They could create spaces where the normal laws of physics simply didn't apply, generate fields that made matter cease to exist, and perform other feats that the aliens would consider impossible. Dr. Kim, one of her junior scientists, called out, "We're detecting the alien fleet moving into attack formation. Their energy signatures are massive." Kim nodded, unsurprised. Of course they are. They're using antimatter reactors. Primitive, really, once you understand quantum manipulation. She moved to another console, bringing up a live feed from space. They think size and power are everything. They never considered that the universe has deeper rules we could learn to break. The memory of the breakthrough discovery 20 years ago flashed through her mind. It had happened in this very facility, when her team realized that quantum effects could be cascaded and amplified. That single insight had led to a technological revolution that had been kept hidden from the world, developed in secret for exactly this kind of moment. Quantum field integrity at 100%, Park reported, ready to begin full system test. Kim opened a secure channel to Lunar Base Alpha. Admiral Han's holographic image appeared before her, looking as calm as ever despite the impending alien attack. "Admiral," she said, "the QCI network is online and fully operational. We have confirmed quantum field stability across all nodes. Maximum effective range." She paused, double-checking the readings. "Extends beyond the orbit of Pluto. The entire solar system is within our reach." Han nodded slowly. "Excellent work, Doctor. Are you confident in the system's capability against their technology?" Kim allowed herself a small smile. "Admiral, their ships are impressive, but they're still operating within normal physics. We're not. Their shields, their weapons, their very existence depends on laws of nature that we can locally override. They're bringing a sword to a reality-breaking fight." "Status of the civilian evacuation?" she asked, knowing that millions of lives depended on their success. "Nearly complete," Han replied. "The underground arcologies are sealed and protected. We can begin operations without risk to our population." Kim turned to look at the quantum initiator rings again, watching as they spun faster, creating effects that rippled through dimensions humans weren't meant to perceive. 20 years of work, all leading to this moment. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that barely understood space travel. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "All stations report ready," Park announced. "The network is stable and responding perfectly. We can begin operations at your command." Kim took a deep breath, thinking of all the sacrifices that had led to this moment. So many brilliant minds had worked in secret, giving up normal lives to develop this technology. Now it would all be worth it. "Admiral," she said, turning back to Han's hologram, "we're ready to show the core empire why they should have taken our warning seriously." The quantum cascade initiators pulsed with power, ready to reveal humanity's true strength to an unsuspecting universe. Space lit up with the crimson glow of 10,000 antimatter engines as the core empire's first wave began their attack run. Commander Jin stood proudly on his bridge, watching the holographic display as his ships moved in perfect formation toward Earth. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, bristling with weapons that could reduce continents to ash. First wave approaching optimal firing range. Officer Ryu reported from her station. "All weapons charged and ready. Enemy defenses still show no sign of activation." Jin's scaled lips curved into what his species considered a smile. "Record everything," he commanded. "This will serve as an excellent lesson for other primitive worlds that might consider defying the Empire." The massive fleet continued its advance, their formation creating a web of death that would envelope Earth's defenses. As they crossed the lunar orbit, Jin raised his hand, ready to give the order to fire. That's when it happened. At first, Jin thought his display was malfunctioning. Ships at the front of his formation began to disappear. Not explode, not break apart. They simply ceased to exist, leaving not even debris behind. The effect spread through his fleet like a wave, each vessel vanishing, as if it had never been there at all. "Impossible," Jin shouted, his composure shattering as he watched 1,000 ships disappear in seconds. "Report. What weapons are they using?" Officer Ryu's claws flew across her console, but the sensors showed nothing they could understand. "Sir, we're detecting massive spatial distortions, but the readings make no sense. It's as if sections of space itself are being removed from existence." Deep beneath Mount Pektu, Dr. Kim directed the quantum cascade network with precise movements. On her display, the alien fleet appeared as points of light, each one winking out as the quantum fields took effect. QCI nodes operating at full capacity, she reported to Admiral Han. Reality dissolution proceeding as calculated. Han's voice came through clear and calm. Excellent. Prepare for Phase 2. Let's show them our fleet. In space, Commander Jin struggled to comprehend what he was seeing. Where there had been empty void moments before, human ships were suddenly appearing, not launching from Earth or the Moon, but emerging from seemingly nowhere, as if reality itself was parting to reveal them. New contacts, Ryu shouted, her voice rising in pitch. Hundreds, thousands of human vessels. They're emerging from some kind of dimensional pocket. The human ships were unlike anything the Korra had ever encountered. They moved in ways that violated the laws of physics, shifting position without apparent acceleration. Their hulls seemed to exist partially out of phase with normal space, making them nearly impossible to target. Jin watched in horror as his supposedly primitive opponents revealed their true capabilities. Where his sensors had shown only basic technology before, now they detected energy signatures that shouldn't have been possible. All ships, open fire, he commanded, his voice cracking with desperation. The remaining Korra vessels launched their most powerful weapons, filling space with antimatter torpedoes and plasma beams. But the human ships simply altered the local properties of space around themselves. Weapons that could have destroyed planets passed harmlessly through volumes where physics itself had been rewritten to new specifications. In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Han watched the battle unfold with satisfaction. Launch the second wave, he ordered. Let them see exactly what they're dealing with. More human ships emerged from quantum pocket dimensions, their weapons powered by principles the Korra Empire couldn't begin to understand. They didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they projected fields that simply removed portions of enemy vessels from existence, leaving the remaining sections to drift helplessly in space. This is impossible. Jin raged as another section of his fleet vanished. No species at their level of development could have this technology. We've monitored them for decades. Officer Ryu looked up from her station, her scales pale with fear. Sir, they weren't primitive at all. They showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. We never saw their real capabilities. The battle, if it could even be called that, continued as humanity's forces systematically dismantled the Korra fleet. Ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds were helpless against weapons that ignored the basic rules of reality. In her underground facility, Dr. Kim monitored the quantum network's performance. All systems functioning perfectly, she reported. The aliens have no defense against our technology because they never imagined it was possible. They built their entire civilization on manipulating energy and matter. We learned to manipulate the foundations of reality itself. The Korra Empire's mighty invasion force was being erased from existence, one ship at a time, while humanity's true fleet emerged from hiding to reveal the full extent of Earth's deception. The aliens who had come to conquer a primitive world were instead learning a harsh lesson about assumptions and arrogance. And this was only the beginning. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the Quantum Strike, her command ship that appeared deceptively small compared to the massive Korra dreadnoughts. The vessel's quantum core pulsed with energy that defied conventional physics, making the ship more ghost than matter. All attack squadrons report ready, her tactical officer announced. Quantum fields are stable and synchronized. Lee watched the massive form of the Empire's fist through her view screen. Commander Jin's flagship that had seemed so intimidating just hours ago now looked like a wounded giant. Around it, the remnants of the once mighty Korra fleet drifted in disarray, their formations shattered by weapons they couldn't comprehend. Begin the final approach, Lee ordered. Activate reality phase shifting. Let's show them what these small ships can really do. Her strike force moved forward, 12 ships that seemed to flicker in and out of existence as they approached the alien flagship. The Korra vessels fired desperately, filling space with antimatter beams and plasma torpedoes, but the human ships simply shifted partially out of normal spacetime, letting the attacks pass through them harmlessly. Inside the Empire's fist, Commander Jin watched with growing horror as the human vessels approached. His mighty ship's sensors couldn't maintain a lock on them. They seemed to exist in multiple states of reality simultaneously. "Bring all weapons to bear," he shouted. "They're only small ships. They can't possibly withstand our full power." Officer Ryu worked frantically at her station. "Sir, our weapons are having no effect. They're somehow shifting between dimensions faster than our targeting systems can track." Lee's strike force reached attack range, and she gave the order they'd trained years for. "Activate quantum disruption fields. Target their shield generators and weapon systems. Show them what happens when you ignore humanity's warnings." The human ships released waves of energy that didn't so much destroy their targets as remove them from reality entirely. Sections of the massive alien flagship simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect spherical holes in its hull where matter had been erased from all possible dimensions. "Impossible," Jin screamed as alerts blared across his bridge. "Emergency retreat. All ships, activate faster than light drives." But when his crew tried to engage their engines, nothing happened. The mighty drives that could bend space itself remained silent. In a secure facility on Earth, a team of quantum hackers led by Dr. Park worked their magic. They had infiltrated the alien ship systems not through conventional computer networks, but through the quantum fabric of space-time itself. "Their technology is based on predictable physical laws," Park explained to his team as they worked. "But we're operating on a level they never imagined possible. Their computer systems exist in normal space. Ours exist across multiple quantum states simultaneously." Back on the quantum strike, Lee watched with satisfaction as the alien fleet's engines failed to respond. Her ships continued their assault, methodically removing key systems from the massive flagship while leaving its life support intact. "Sir," Officer Ryu reported to Commander Jin, her voice shaking, "we're detecting quantum intrusions throughout all our systems. They're not hacking our computers. They're altering the fundamental reality our technology operates in." Jin slumped in his command chair, watching helplessly as more sections of his mighty vessel simply vanished. The humans hadn't just outmatched them. They had been operating on a completely different level of warfare entirely. Lee opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. "Commander Jin," she said calmly, "your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are useless. Your engines won't respond. Surrender now, and we'll let your crews survive." Through the quantum disruption fields, Lee's ships continued their dance around the massive alien vessel. Where Cora technology relied on brute force and overwhelming power, humanity had developed weapons that simply ignored such concepts entirely. "How?" Jin asked, his voice barely a whisper. "How did we not see this? How did we miss such advanced technology?" Lee allowed herself a small smile. "Because you were looking for the wrong things, Commander. You searched for bigger weapons, stronger shields, more powerful engines, but we learned to step outside those limitations entirely. While you mastered the rules of physics, we learned to rewrite them." The remaining Cora ships hung motionless in space, their mighty engines silenced by quantum hackers who had turned their own dimension against them. What had started as an invasion had become a demonstration of humanity's true capabilities, hidden for so long behind a carefully crafted mask of primitive technology. "Your Empire's greatest mistake," Lee continued, "wasn't just attacking Earth. It was assuming that superior technology meant the same thing to us as it does to you." Around her, the quantum strike force continued their methodical dismantling of the alien fleet, using weapons that didn't destroy but simply edited reality itself. The turning point of the battle had become the turning point of humanity's relationship with the galaxy. The age of hiding was over. The time had come for the rest of the universe to learn why Earth's warning should have been heeded. Commander Jin stood motionless on the bridge of the once mighty Empire's fist, watching through the viewing screens as his fleet drifted lifelessly in space. The massive dreadnought, previously the pride of the Cora Empire, now floated powerless among the wreckage of what had been the greatest invasion force ever assembled. Around him, his bridge crew worked in stunned silence, trying desperately to restore power to their dead systems. The only light came from emergency backup systems, casting an eerie red glow across scaled faces that had never known defeat. Officer Rio approached him slowly, her usual confidence replaced by a shell-shocked demeanor. "Final damage report, Commander," she said quietly. 87% of the fleet has been erased. The remaining ships are completely disabled. No casualties among the crews. The humans specifically avoided killing anyone. Jin nodded slowly, understanding the deeper humiliation in that fact. The humans hadn't just defeated them. They had done so while deliberately preserving their lives, demonstrating a level of control that made the Korra Empire's power seem crude by comparison. Through the view screens, he could see Earth's ships moving methodically through the debris field. They seemed to flicker in and out of reality, their quantum drives allowing them to exist partially outside normal spacetime. Each vessel was a demonstration of technology that the Korra Empire had never even dreamed possible. "Play it again," Jin ordered softly. "Show me the moment it all went wrong." The main screen activated, showing recorded footage from just hours earlier. The mighty Korra fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their weapons charged, ready to subjugate another primitive world. Then, in an instant, entire sections of the fleet simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, but removed from reality itself. The recording continued, showing human vessels emerging from quantum pocket dimensions, wielding weapons that ignored the laws of physics. Jin watched as his fleet's most powerful weapons passed harmlessly through ships that could step sideways through reality. "Sir," one of his officers called out, "we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies." "Put it through," Jin said, his voice hollow. Admiral Han's voice filled the bridge, calm and measured. "You were warned." Those 3 words carried the weight of complete defeat. Jin remembered his own laughter when he had received Earth's warning. His dismissal of what he had thought was a primitive species making empty threats. "Your empire has a choice to make," Han continued. "What happens next depends entirely on your actions. We have demonstrated our capabilities. We have shown you that your understanding of technology, of physics itself, is incomplete. You can choose to learn from this, or..." The threat remained unspoken but clear. Jin watched as one of his disabled support ships flickered briefly, then reappeared with a perfect spherical section missing from its hull, another casual demonstration of humanity's power to edit reality itself. Officer Rio checked her readings. "Sir, they're using quantum fields we can't even detect to hold our ships in place. Our most advanced sensors can't understand how they're doing it." Jin moved to the center of his bridge, looking at each member of his crew. These were the elite of the Korra Empire, trained to believe in their absolute technological superiority. Now they sat at dead consoles, their mighty weapons reduced to useless metal by an enemy that had completely transcended their understanding of warfare. "Send the surrender signal," he ordered quietly, "on all frequencies, in all languages. The Korra Empire acknowledges defeat." As the message was transmitted, Jin watched Earth's quantum ships continuing their patrol. They moved with deliberate precision, their very existence a reminder of how thoroughly he had underestimated humanity's capabilities. A new message came through the speakers, this time from Dr. Kim in her facility beneath Mount Pegtu. "Commander Jin, we are beginning the process of restoring limited power to your life support and communication systems. Do not attempt to restore weapons or engine power. The quantum locks we've placed on your technology will remain permanent." Jin closed his eyes, feeling the weight of this historic defeat. His empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, subjugated dozens of species, all through the overwhelming force of their superior technology. Now they had encountered a civilization that had taken a completely different path, one that made all their advancements seem primitive by comparison. "Send a message to the imperial capital," he ordered. Tell them we encountered something new, something that changes everything we thought we knew about the universe. As he spoke, Earth's ships continued their victory patrol, their quantum drives bending reality itself around them. The mighty Korra Empire had learned too late that sometimes the simplest warning should be the most carefully heeded. The Grand Chamber of the United Earth Council buzzed with excited conversation as representatives from every nation gathered for this historic session. The room, with its soaring crystal dome that offered a view of the stars above, had never held such a diverse collection of beings. Alongside human delegates sat representatives from 12 alien civilizations, their varied forms a testament to the galaxy's rich diversity. Admiral Han stood at the podium, his decorated uniform gleaming under the chamber's lights. The last month had transformed humanity's place in the galaxy, turning Earth from a supposedly primitive world into a power that commanded universal respect. The official surrender of the Korra Empire marks a new chapter in human history, Han announced, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Their fleet has been escorted back to their territory, minus the technology we deemed too dangerous to leave in their possession. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing footage from the historic battle. Alien delegates watched in fascination as the recording showed Earth's quantum ships phasing through reality, wielding weapons that defied conventional physics. Dr. Kim took the podium next, her usual lab coat replaced by formal attire for this historic occasion. Our analysis of Korra technology has confirmed our initial assessments, she began, bringing up detailed technical displays. Their civilization followed a linear path of technological development, focusing on increasing power and efficiency within the standard laws of physics. The displays showed comparisons between Korra antimatter technology and Earth's quantum manipulation systems. They built bigger engines, stronger weapons, more powerful shields. But they never questioned the fundamental rules they were working with. Their arrogance prevented them from even considering alternative approaches. From her new seat in the chamber, Fleet Admiral Lee watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. Her promotion had come after leading the final assault that ended the invasion, and now she supervised the implementation of Earth's new defensive strategies. We've established quantum monitoring stations throughout the solar system, Lee reported when it was her turn to speak. Any future attempts to enter our space without permission will be met with immediate response. We will not be caught unprepared again. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably at this reminder of Earth's power. Many of their own civilizations had dismissed humanity as primitive based on the same sensor readings that had deceived the Korra Empire. Now they all sought treaties and technological exchange agreements. But our victory brings new responsibilities, Han continued, addressing both human and alien representatives. We've demonstrated that conventional understandings of physics and technology are incomplete. We have an opportunity to help guide the galaxy toward a more enlightened future. Dr. Kim presented the Council with proposals for controlled sharing of quantum technology. We won't repeat the Korra Empire's mistake of assuming technological superiority equals the right to dominate, she explained. Instead, we'll establish schools and research centers to help other species understand these new principles. The Chamber's displays showed plans for the future: diplomatic outposts utilizing quantum technology, joint research projects with alien scientists, and defensive installations to maintain peace in the solar system. The galaxy has learned an important lesson, Lee added, standing to address the assembly. Humanity's apparent primitiveness was a choice, a deliberate mask that allowed us to develop our technology in peace. We chose not to announce our advances, not to demonstrate our power until it was necessary. The alien delegates nodded in understanding. News of Earth's victory had spread rapidly across the galaxy, transforming humanity's image from a primitive curiosity to a force commanding universal respect. The Korra Empire's defeat had become a cautionary tale, taught to every spacefaring civilization. As the session concluded, Han, Kim, and Lee stood together on the Chamber's observation deck, watching Earth's quantum ships patrol in formation against the star-filled background. Their vessels phased in and out of normal space, a constant reminder of humanity's unique approach to understanding the universe. They all want to know how we did it, Kim said quietly. How we developed quantum manipulation while they were focused on conventional physics. Lee smiled. Perhaps that was our greatest advantage. While they were looking up at the stars, thinking about how to build bigger ships and stronger weapons, we were looking sideways, wondering if we could step through reality itself. Han nodded, watching as another alien delegation arrived through the quantum gates that now connected Earth to the galaxy's major powers. They thought they were coming to conquer a primitive world, he said. Instead, they found themselves facing something they never imagined possible. The three of them stood in comfortable silence, watching humanity's quantum ships continue their eternal patrol. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Underestimating humanity was indeed a deadly mistake. End.